All right, into the charts we go, and on Bitcoin, it's doing exactly what I set the table for it to do just the other day in the last couple videos. We talked about it needing to continue to make this sideways to slightly lower consolidation pattern. We talked about the angle being important, remember? And again, this is all key educational information. The angle needs to be between 45 degrees and 90 degrees, right? So, and again, just to set that up properly, I want you to understand. So you have the up move, 90 degrees would be like this. 45 degrees would be approximately like that, right? So that's the angle you want. Notice the consolidation is within that range. That means that the probabilities are starting to grow better and better that it's going to have some sort of move up in the near term. Now again, please understand this is short-term micro analysis, meaning that this doesn't mean that all of a sudden the bull market's returning. It's just talking about what the likely outcome for the next, let's say, 3 to 5, maybe 7 trading days is, right? You're basically looking 1 week out when you're looking at daily consolidation patterns like this. All right. Now, again, just to be clear, 1, 2, 3, 4 candles. It's mature, more mature than it was when it was 1 or 2, but it's not what I would consider a fully mature pattern. So that impacts ever so slightly the probability. So the angle is proper, the consolidation is proper, the maturity of this would be kind of an adolescent at this point, getting close to adult, but not fully there yet. All right, so again, one more consolidation candle, and then I think you're pretty much near that maturity, and then the probabilities would be highest. Now, what does probability means? It basically signals that it's the odds of a move up. Now, remember, odds are odds, right? Probabilities are probabilities. So you could get, with a good consolidation, mature pattern, correct angle, we're kind of approaching that 80% up move chance. But remember, still leaves 20% that all of a sudden something happens, like an FTX type scenario, and it doesn't play out. But again, this is what it's all about, folks, is understanding how everything that you read within the chart via education and understanding price pattern and time, it all plays into probabilities. And probabilities start to stack up, and that's how you put yourself in a position to not win every time. You're not going to make a profit on every trade, but ultimately to make a profit on a majority of trades. 70-80% of the trades should be profitable once you become kind of that elite status pro. All right. Now, I did talk about the cup and handle pattern, and again, it's a little hard to see here because it's kind of like down, up, and then sideways. But what I wanted to show you, if you go to the hourly chart, you see it much clearer, right? So again, just to kind of go over the cup and handle pattern, which, by the way, cup and handle is just a down move, an up move, and then a consolidation pattern, right? But basically, here's your cup. It's got a little bit of a narrow base. That's okay. And then here is your handle pattern, right? So again, that's your cup handle. And again, what a handle is, by the way, is just a bull flag or in spirit of bull flag. I mean, it's just a fancy name for that sort of pattern recognition. Now, a couple things I want to show you here that I am keeping an eye on the hourly chart. And again, this is when you go to smaller time frames, things become bigger, right? So you can see, again, this is what we were just looking at on the daily chart, which on the daily chart, it's just this, right? This little bit here. So kind of cool to be able to do that. But again, one of the things that I'm keeping a close eye on here is there's a bigger trend line, right? So if we look here and we put a trend line in, you can kind of see that you're now starting to create this, you could make a case that now you have this trend line that's actually, you could even stretch this back a little bit further, but it certainly does look like it kind of coexists here. Pivot to pivot to pivot to pivot here, right? And then to pivot right there, and now you're consolidating. So the idea is now you're starting to hit it. You hit it here. So here and here, it was weakening, right? But not weak enough. Then you went away. Remember what I taught you guys in previous videos here. When you go away from a level and you come back, this level's now firmed up again. So this becomes now a strong resistance, and it hits it, and sure enough, it pulls back. Then it hits it again, still pretty strong. Now it hits it again. Now it's weakening, right? It's getting weaker. Now the question is, can you hit it again, let's say on Monday, for instance, this coming Monday, and now you've hit it here and then closer in succession and then again and maybe one more time, boom. All of a sudden you break up, and that's where you can get that little short-term bullish move. Now, what's your target here? In the near term, I would say your target for an up move is probably 17,100 with a potential of making the bigger move to that 17.6 area. Remember, 17,600, if we go to the daily chart, would be a retrace to the June low right here. right? So that would kind of be your upper range. Which again, it's $1,000 higher here. Now again, in the olden days of crypto, by the way, when I say that, I mean like, a year ago or more. But, then you had scenarios where you get like multi-$1,000 moves on Bitcoin like nothing. I mean, I remember when it was trading in the 50s, 60,000, 5,000 points a day wasn't that much. It was not even 10%. Now a 5,000 move would be like almost basically 30% if we were to go up. So it's a lot percentage-wise bigger. But either way, I think the key here is that right now, just in the micro period, the very short-term period, we are looking at a bullish pattern that's nearing maturity, does favor a little bit of move to the upside. Let's look at an in on Ethereum. Now, Ethereum's a little bit different. It's not horrendously different, but again, you could see here you tried to break up and you kind of paused, but you still see that consolidation pattern, right? So again, if we go to the Ethereum chart, here's your cup, and now here's your handle, right? And again, you could almost argue that the Ethereum chart is a little bit stronger in a weird way. And the reason I say that is that, think about this, right? The Bitcoin one is more angled like this, right? So it's seeing a little bit more selling pressure, which is kind of creating this. Now, both are bullish, but this one, you can see a much more equal amount of buyers versus sellers. When you have one buyer versus one seller, what happens to price? Price doesn't move, right? It's an equal amount of buyers to sellers. So when you make a perfect kind of, right angle, if you will, a 90-degree angle, what that's telling you is that there's an equal amount of buyers and sellers in crypto right now, at least for Ethereum. Now, when you're looking at Bitcoin, it's slightly more sellers than buyers. But after a move up, that's not unusual. It is still bullish. It's just this is a flatter line. In technical terms, and I'm going to break out the education again, by the way. And folks, when you see the right angle form, which is a true bull flag, and if you look at the definition, a bull flag is a 90-degree angle, right? Once you get down to like between 90 and 45, it's called an in spirit of bull flag. The 90-degree angle is going to have the higher probability. It's a more perfect pattern formation. The better the pattern formation, essentially the more perfect the formation, the probabilities are slightly higher. Now, a 45-degree angle of an in spirit of flag is still very, very good. But you're not going to approach the, like a right angle here is probably north of 80%. This would be 70 to 80%. So you're still in the ballpark of either one is good. You just prefer the perfect bull flag, right? All right, let's take a look at Cardano real quick. I like the move in Cardano, starting to creep up a little bit. Here it's a little, it's a little different. You don't really have that cup and handle pattern. You still have a little bullish consolidation. Here it's starting to break up. I'm going to extend this out a little bit because as we go, that line stops. But either way, the reason why I keep that on my chart, by the way, is because it's a longer channel here. But you're starting to creep up a little bit, which is nice. Again, I'm glad we added when it broke 30 cents to the position, and it kind of gives us a good overall average where we get one good pop. We can get up in the money a little bit there. Again, if we were to get a big pop on Cardano, this downsloping trend line is going to be your big resistance. That's going to be where, whether or not it gets through, we'll have to say, but that would be where you would expect it to really have some trouble. All right, and that's right around 39 cents or so. All right, let's take a look at NEAR, N-E-A-R, inching up again today. You could make a case again, bottoming tail, classic bottoming tail, which is a reversal signal, and then you had a couple candles up, now consolidating. Again, not the best of bull flags, but it is consolidation. Now you're starting to creep up. Again, like I said, following the bottoming tail, especially considering if you zoom out, it was from this low pivot that it formed. That creates a very good case for why you should see some more upside. Again, I have my low-end target around $1.80. My high-end target would be about $1.94. Somewhere in that vicinity is kind of what I would expect, potentially over the next week or so, if these bullish patterns play out in the crypto market. Now, you might be saying, well, how the heck is bullish patterns? How are we going to see bullish price action in crypto, considering what's going on with FTX and everything else? And the answer is you have to shut that part of your brain off. All right, as soon as you start getting into the kind of the reading the news and the craziness and all this stuff, then it kind of changes. It creates an emotional response within you. The best traders in the world are the ones that don't care what the news is. They're just reading the chart. And the chart will guide you generally to the correct move coming in a chart. I would say 8 out of 10 times. And again, that's all about probabilities. Okay. Let's quickly look at Solana here, see what we got on Solana. Solana creeping up. Nice little bull flag on Solana too. Almost a perfect right angle. I would say maybe not quite perfect with that little red candle there. But either way, beautiful up move. I love how it keeps hammering on this $15 level, which is resistance. So you hit it here, you hit it here. Now, if you hit it again, it's it's weakened, right? This is one day. It just skipped a day, hit again. Maybe you hit it again today or tomorrow. This level, again, with the bull flag pattern, you got to think breaks, and then you're talking about a $17.75 to $18 target on Solana in the near term. And again, this is very near term. Best possibility on Solana for me would be back to about 26 to 27 bucks. This pivot low essentially here. And again, if it did that, obviously I'm taking profits and running, as I still think, again, the crypto market's going to be struggling for a little while before it finally bottoms out. Take a look at Avalanche here, and again, Avalanche, nice little pop on Avalanche, back above 13 bucks, little flag pattern here, again, in spirit of bull flag, starting to inch up a little bit. Again, not much volume in Avalanche today, but bottom line is this is your resistance right here, 13.35. We're just a little bit below it. If we get through that, then you're going up to about the $14 level or so. All right, so again, it's kind of interesting, right? And this is the beauty of being a trader, is that you can have a near-term bullish bias with a mid-term bearish bias with a long-term bullish bias. In fact, that would be kind of how I would describe myself right now. And again, for most investors, they're like, wait a minute, I don't get that, right? They can't comprehend how you can be, short-term bullish, mid-term bearish, and again, what it has to do with is it's all about the micro patterns, then the macro patterns, and then obviously when it comes to my long-term projections, it's not so much on the chart, it's more on the macro view and understanding how the crypto market, especially with Bitcoin, is eventually going to get regulated with transparency. The idea of the 21 million run on Bitcoin, maximum amount of coins, and how fiat currencies will continue to be printed, because that's the only way governments and central banks know how to really bail out from horrendous, recessions or depressions. So it's just kind of interesting. It just makes you kind of, realize what it is to be an investor and a trader and have these different viewpoints. All right, we can go over a couple different coins. Let's take a look at BNB here real quick. Great continued price action on BNB. Again, big move up, pause candle, little up move, now another pause candle. In terms of where this could go, where could BNB go? I would say near term, if it continues up, let's say the crypto market does move up, you'll have a little bit of resistance right up here around 337, and then there'll be a secondary trend line right here around 364. So those would be your next two target periods right there. And if it really got through there, then you could be talking about 450. But again, in my opinion, BNB as a longer-term investment is very intriguing to me, because if it, assuming, and again, this is a big assumption, and obviously I could be totally wrong on this, but assuming they make it through without any kind of issues like FTX or anyone else, then it's all about how many of these are left standing, and then you have obviously BNB being one of the biggest, Coinbase, there's some of these other ones that actually could emerge as being kind of the few that survive and therefore thrive, right? So just kind of a little interesting little tidbit on that front. Let's take a look at Ripple real quick, XRP. Let's see what we got on Ripple. Ripple, again, a little bit of a chop here. We have broken out to the upside of this small triangle, which means that this down-sloping trend line, then this up-sloping will be your next levels to go. The real key, if you're a Ripple fan, what you need to see is you need to see it get back above this line. Pivot low, and then it broke. You need to see that line recaptured. So you're talking about 44 cents or so. You want to see price get back above and hold above 44 cents. And then eventually you want to see it tackle this upper line here. But again, we'll have to see how that all plays out in the short term. Take a look at Matic real quick. Matic, again, a little bit of a bull flag there. Short-term resistance is going to be this former level right here, and that's right around 92 cents or so. But that's had quite the fall from the short-term crazy pop that it had. Basically erased all of that. Let's see what else we have here. TRX. Yeah, sure, we'll look at TRX real quick, see what's going on there. Nah, nothing really. Again, it's slowly floating back up, which is good after this big drop. But to create a cup, it would have to get all the way here and then create that handle pattern. So again, nothing too much there. I could look at Leo. I know some of you guys probably like that one. Leo, a lot of chop here. Really, to me, it looks a little choppier than I like, with up, down, up, down. I mean, it looks like Looks just kind of a little bit of whippiness. The biggest thing for me would be this downsloping trend line. At some point, if it can get over that, then that's more of the bigger breakout. What you want to see it hold is, and you can see here, I mean, pivot to pivot, and then it kind of tried to break it multiple times going below the line, and then each time got kind of saved. But if it breaks this line and really starts to break down, then you probably have downside to about $3 on that one. All right. Let's see here. Anything else on the... We can look at Monero. I haven't looked at Monero in a while. XMR. Let's see what we got on that one. All right, yeah, so you can see this was a former trend lines I had on the chart. It got below, pierced it here. Now like it got above, it hasn't confirmed back above. But either way, I think this line here is what you want to see it get through and then confirm. Interestingly enough, if you know your confirmation signal, which is, again, probably the most important thing you could ever learn in the technical world, notice how it got above here, but it never confirmed, which made it vulnerable to breaking down. Think about how many people got fooled here thinking this was a breakout in the crypto world. In reality, if you know your confirmation, you would never trust that as a breakout. All right, guys, I'm going to let you guys go for now, but as always, a wonderful, wonderful weekend to you all. I hope everyone's doing well, staying healthy, and thank you so much for being members. All right, take care.